Let me ask you something honest. What actually happens in the first 24 hours after your paycheck hits your account? For most people, and I mean most people, not just people who are struggling, it goes something like this. The money lands. You feel a brief wave of relief. Maybe you check the balance once. You pay a bill or two that you have been mentally tracking. You buy something you have been putting off, maybe something you genuinely needed, maybe something you just wanted because you finally felt like you could. And then, somewhere between day 3 and day 7, you check your account again and feel that familiar, quiet panic because somehow the number is already lower than it felt like it should be. And the cycle starts again. Here's what nobody tells you. The reason most people feel perpetually behind with money has almost nothing to do with how much they earn. It has everything to do with what happens in the first 24 hours after they get paid. That 24-hour window is the most financially consequential period of your entire month. It is the moment when the money is there, all of it, at once, and the decisions you make in that window determine everything that happens for the next 2 weeks or 4 weeks until the next payday. The quietly wealthy have a system for those 24 hours, a specific, repeatable system that happens almost automatically. And today, I am going to walk you through that system step by step using the story of a real person who used it to transform his financial life in less than a year. The story of Marcus. His name is Marcus. He is a 31-year-old school teacher in Phoenix, Arizona, earning $54,000 a year. By any standard measure, that is a reasonable income for a single person in a city. And yet, for 6 years after he started teaching, Marcus finished almost every month with less than $200 in his account. Not because he was irresponsible, not because he was reckless, because he had no system. He spent money the way most people spend money, reactively. Bills when they came, food when he was hungry, fun when he felt like he deserved it, savings when there was anything left, which was almost never. Then, one evening in March, sitting at his kitchen table with his laptop open and his bank statement staring back at him, Marcus did something he had never done before. He traced every dollar from his last paycheck and tried to figure out where it had gone. Not to judge himself, just to understand. What he found shocked him. Not because he had spent money on terrible things, but because he had spent most of it on nothing, on small, forgettable purchases that had accumulated into hundreds of dollars without a single, memorable experience to show for it. The money had not been wasted on big things. It had evaporated in dozens of tiny, unconscious decisions made across 30 days with no framework guiding them. That night, Marcus built his first 24-hour system, and the month that followed was the first month in 6 years that he ended with more money than he started. Here is exactly what he did. Step 1. The first 15 minutes, the mandatory pause. The first step in Marcus's 24-hour system happens in the first 15 minutes after his paycheck notification arrives on his phone. And it might be the most counterintuitive step on this entire list. He does nothing. Not exactly nothing. He opens his banking app, confirms the deposit has arrived, notes the exact amount, and then puts his phone down and does not touch it for at least 15 minutes. This sounds ridiculous, but here's what it does. The moment money arrives in your account, your brain enters a subtle but real state of spending activation. The relief of having money, combined with the awareness of things you have been putting off, creates a neurological cocktail that makes immediate spending feel urgent and justified. This is not a character flaw. It is a hardwired response that evolved when resources were scarce and spending immediately was rational. The 15-minute pause interrupts that activation. It gives your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for long-term planning and rational decision, making time to get back in the driver's seat before any financial decisions are made. Marcus told me that the 15-minute pause alone saved him hundreds of dollars in the first month, not because he gave up anything he genuinely needed, because he discovered that several of the purchases he felt urgent about in the first 5 minutes after payday were completely forgotten by the time 15 minutes had passed. The urgency was manufactured by the presence of the money, not by a genuine need. 15 minutes. Do nothing. Let the activation pass. Then begin. Step 2. The first hour, the non-negotiable allocations within the first hour after the pause. Marcus makes what he calls his non-negotiable allocations. These are the transfers that happen before any spending, before groceries, before bills, before anything that goes into the category of living his life. He has 3 non-negotiable allocations, and he makes them in this exact order every single time. First, future self. 10% of his take-home pay transfers automatically to his investment account on the day he gets paid, before he has spent a single dollar. This is not savings. This is not an emergency fund. This is wealth. money that is going somewhere permanent and growing. For Marcus, on a $54,000 salary, that is approximately $360 every payday. It is not a lot. It is not nothing, and it moves before he touches anything else. Second protection. 5% transfers to his emergency fund until it is fully funded, currently sitting at 3 months of expenses, and then redirects to a specific savings goal he is working toward. This money is not invested. It sits in a high-yield savings account, visible and accessible, but mentally off limits for anything except genuine emergent. Third, giving. 3% goes to whatever cause he is supporting at the time. This one surprised me when he told me about it, not because I doubted it was meaningful, but because it seemed financially counterintuitive when you are trying to build wealth. Marcus explained it better than anyone I have heard. He said giving before spending trains his brain to understand that his money serves a purpose larger than his immediate wants, and that training, that small, consistent act of directing money outward before it gets absorbed inward, does something to the psychology of spending that he cannot fully explain, but absolutely cannot deny. 3 transfers, 18% of his take-home pay, gone in the first hour, before he buys groceries, before he pays a bill, before he checks his phone and sees something he wants. Step 3. Hours 1 to 3, the bill sweep. After the non-negotiable allocations, Marcus does what he calls the bill sweep. This is the part of the 24-hour system that most people actually do, but usually scattered across the month rather than concentrated in the first few hours of payday. Every recurring bill he has, rent or mortgage, utilities, subscriptions, phone, insurance, any debt payments, gets addressed in a single focus session within the first 3 hours of payday. Not all paid necessarily, some are not due yet, but all reviewed, scheduled, or confirmed. Here's why this matters. When bills are scattered across the month, your brain never has an accurate picture of what money is actually available. You see the full paycheck balance on day 1 and feel rich. You pay rent on day 5 and feel okay. You pay your credit card on day 12 and feel a little tighter. By day 20, the string of bill payments has reduced your available money, but your brain has been tracking a moving target the whole time. The result is that spending decisions throughout the month are made with inaccurate information, and that inaccuracy is what creates the week 3 panic. The bill sweep fixes this. By concentrating all bill review into the first 3 hours of payday, Marcus gets a clear and accurate picture of what money is genuinely available for the rest of the month before he spends a single dollar of it on living his life. The number he sees after the bill sweep is not what he earned, it is what he has. And spending from that number rather than the full paycheck number is the difference between ending the month with money and ending it with nothing. Step 4. Hours 3 to 6, the spending plan after the bill sweep. Marcus knows his true available spending money for the month, and in hours 3 to 6 of payday, usually over lunch or dinner, with a cup of coffee and absolutely no urgency, he builds what he calls the spending plan. Not a budget. He tried budgets. They failed, not because he lacked discipline, but because budgets feel like restriction, like a diet, and restriction triggers rebellion. The spending plan is different. It is permission, not prohibition. The spending plan answers one question. Given what I have available this month, how do I want to spend it in a way that reflects what actually matters to me? He divides his available money into 4 buckets: essentials, groceries, transportation, medical, anything genuinely non-optional. This bucket gets estimated first and gets funded first. Enjoyment, dining out, entertainment, things that genuinely bring him joy and that he would choose to spend money on even if he were being completely intentional. This bucket gets estimated second and gets funded second. Goals, whatever he is working toward in the near term. A trip, a new laptop, a gift he wants to save for. This gets funded third. Buffer the remaining money that acts as a cushion for anything he did not anticipate. This sits untouched unless something unexpected arises. The spending plan takes about 20 minutes. Marcus does it with his phone and a notes app, no spreadsheet, no complicated software. And what it produces is not a rigid cage of categories. It is clarity. He knows going into the month what he has, what it is for, and what buffer he has for the unexpected. And clarity knowing that spending $200 on dining out is a choice he already made with clear eyes, rather than an accident he is discovering after the fact, changes the entire emotional texture of the month. Step 5. Hours 6 to 12, the automation check somewhere in the second half of payday, usually early evening. Marcus does a quick audit of his financial automation. This takes about 8 minutes, and he does it every single payday without exception. He opens his list of automatic transfers and checks 3 things. First, is everything scheduled correctly? Did his investment transfer go through? Is his emergency fund transfer confirmed? Are any bill auto payments aligned with when his next paycheck arrives rather than awkwardly mid-cycle? Second, is there anything that needs updating? Did his rent go up? Has he added or removed any subscriptions this month? Does anything on the automation list no longer reflect his actual financial reality? Third, and this is the one most people skip, is there anything he should be automating that he is currently doing manually? Every manual financial decision is an opportunity to either forget or to make a worse choice in a less optimal mental state. Every time Marcus finds something he is doing manually that could be automatic, he automates it. Not because he is lazy, because he understands that the best version of his financial life runs without requiring the daily version of him to make good decisions constantly. The goal of the automation check is to minimize the number of financial decisions Marcus has to make for the rest of the month, because every financial decision he removes from the future is a decision that cannot go wrong, cannot be made in a tired moment, a stressed moment, or a tempted moment. The quietly wealthy do not have better willpower than everyone else. They have less that requires willpower, and automation is how that happens. Step 6. Hours 12 to 24, the intentional spend, the last step in Marcus's 24-hour system, is also the most enjoyable, and I think it is the step that makes the whole system sustainable in a way that budgets and restrictions never are. Within the first 24 hours of payday, Marcus makes one intentional purchase, using money from his enjoyment bucket. Not a reactive purchase, not something he grabbed impulsively, something he has been genuinely looking forward to, a dinner at a restaurant he wanted to try, a book he has been meaning to buy, an experience he has been thinking about. The intentional spend does something psychologically critical. It establishes the feeling of the month on his terms rather than the month's terms. Most people's relationship with money in the first week of a new paycheck period is dominated by the feelings of paying bills and allocating to things that feel like obligation. The intentional spend interrupts that pattern. It proves to his present self that the system is not deprivation, it is direction. It shows that the allocations and the planning are not designed to prevent him from enjoying his money. They are designed to make sure that when he does enjoy his money, it is because he chose to, not because he could not stop himself. Marcus told me that this single step, the intentional spend, is what made the system stick after all his previous attempts at financial discipline had failed, because it removed the feeling of sacrifice. The system was not taking money away from him. It was giving him money with more meaning, more intention, and more genuine satisfaction than the random spending it replaced. One intentional purchase, within 24 hours, from the money he already allocated for enjoyment. Not a reward for following the system, a demonstration that the system works for his life. What happened to Marcus within 3 months of implementing the 24-hour system? Marcus's financial life was visibly different. Not dramatically, not Instagram-worthy, but visibly different in the way that actually matters. He stopped feeling the week 3 panic. For the first time since he started teaching, he finished a month with money he had not spent, not because he had earned more, but because he had directed it before it could evaporate. His emergency fund grew from essentially nothing to $2,000 in 90 days. His investment account, which he had opened and ignored for 2 years before this, started receiving consistent contributions that showed up on his statement as growth he could actually see. But the change Marcus talks about most is not financial, it is psychological. He said that for the first time in his adult life, he felt like he was in a relationship with his money rather than in a conflict with it. He felt like the person who was making the decisions rather than the person who was discovering what had already happened. And that feeling, that quiet sense of agency over something that had always felt out of control, was worth more to him than any specific number on any statement. By month 6, he had 3 months of expenses saved. By month 9, his investment account crossed $10,000 for the first time. By the end of year 1, he had built a financial life that his year 1 self would have considered impossible, not by changing his income, not by giving up things he loved, but by building a 24-hour system that made the decisions before the chaos had a chance to make them for him. The pattern, why, the first 24 hours, ARE, everything now that we have been through the entire system. I want to explain why the 24-hour window specifically is so powerful, because understanding the why makes the what a lot easier to actually do. Your paycheck arrives in your account once. The entire month's income is present in your balance simultaneously for a brief window before spending begins to reduce it. That window, those first 24 hours, is the only moment in the entire month where you have full visibility into your actual financial resources before the demands of life begin to make claims on them. Every hour you wait to implement a system, the information becomes less accurate. A bill gets paid. A grocery run happens. A spontaneous dinner By day 3, your balance is already a partial picture of what was there, and the decisions you make from a partial picture are systematically worse than the decisions you make from a complete one. The 24-hour system is not really a money habit. It is an information habit. It is the practice of making all your important financial decisions at the moment when you have the clearest and most complete picture of your resource, and then delegating the rest of the month to automation and intention, so that the day-to-day financial decisions are guided by something thoughtful that already happened, rather than by whatever your emotional state is when you open your wallet. This is exactly how the quietly wealthy operate. Not with more money, with better timing. How to start. You do not need to implement all 6 steps tomorrow. Marcus did not. He started with 2, the non-negotiable allocations, and the bill sweep, and built from there. If you are going to start with one thing, make it the non-negotiable allocation. Pick a percentage, even if it is just 5%, even if it is just 3%, and set up an automatic transfer to happen on the same day your paycheck arrives. Not the next day, not when you remember, the same day, before anything else moves. That single transfer, small, automatic on payday, is the seed of the entire system. Because the moment you start moving money toward your future before you spend it on your present, you have crossed the most important threshold in personal finance. You have become someone who pays themselves first. And everything that follows from that identity shift is easier than everything that came before it. The 24-hour system is not about perfection. Marcus does not execute it flawlessly every month. Some months, the intentional spend does not happen. Some months, the spending plan is rough rather than thorough. But the non-negotiable allocations happen every time, before anything else. And 11 months in, that consistency has produced results that no amount of motivation or discipline could have manufactured on its own. Here's what I want you to do right now. Pull up your banking app. Look at your next payday date. Write it down or put it in your calendar with OneNote Payday System. When that day arrives, do these things in this order. Pause for 15 minutes. Make your non-negotiable allocations, even if it is just 5% to saving. Sweep your bills into one clear picture. Build a rough spending plan. Check your automation. And make one intentional purchase from your enjoyment budget. That is the whole system. 6 steps, 24 hours. Repeat it every payday for the rest of your financial life. Drop a comment below and tell me which step resonates most with you. Or tell me what your next payday is and what you are going to do differently this time. I read every single comment and I want to know what landed. Subscribe, because this channel exists to give you the real system behind real financial transformation, not theory, not motivation, but the specific habits that people like Marcus use to build wealth on ordinary incomes in ordinary lives. Your next payday is a beginning. Make it a different kind of beginning this time.